chat, okay? You can raise your hand if you want. If not a lot of people are shouting out, you can just kind of talk. What we're going to talk about is how to get to a 4, which is what if you were thinking of a letter grade? An A, right? And so every kid deserves to know how they can get there. So we've been working as teachers on really what's the best way for you to get to a 4. And we thought maybe we should talk to you guys about it too. So before we talk about how to get an A now in middle school or a 4, let's talk about how you might have gotten an A when you were younger. So I have a 2nd grader, so right now I love 2nd graders. So how about spelling? Just this morning in the car we were working on a spelling list. How did you get an A on spelling way back in 2nd grade?
Getting all the words right.
Getting all the words right. And how did you make sure you were going to get them all right?
You would practice over the night.
Yeah, you would practice each evening, right? You'd get the list at the beginning of the week, you'd practice, 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 and when it came time for the test, you try to write out everything you had memorized, right, on the list. And I'm sorry I have to point at you. I wish I knew all of your names. Okay, so how about when you moved up to 3rd grade, and you learned multiplication facts? How did you learn your multiplication facts and get an A in 3rd grade math?
By studying it all the time and working.
By studying and practicing and working on them. If I do this, what do you think of?
Rigor, but flashcards.
Flashcards over and over. You practice those, right? And sometimes you played fun games like Around the World. And whoever memorized their multiplication facts got the best grade in math in 3rd grade, right? Yes? No? Okay. So, what did you guys do last night? You went to swim. Watch TV. What did you do?
Well, solved crimes in the 1940s.
Say that again?
Solved crimes in the 1940s.
Solved crimes in the 1940s. How'd you do that?
It's the game called L.A. Nori.
Very cool. What'd you do?
Went to my sister's winter concert.
That's right. What school had theirs last night? I've heard that a few times today.
Madison.
Madison. How about you? What'd you do?
I went to intensive training for soccer and then decorated.
That sounds intense. How about you? I saw a little hand waving. What'd you do last night?
I read a book and later.
Great. What book? Oh, cool. She helped her sister with some math homework. How about you? What'd you do?
I stayed home because I was sick.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm glad you're here today.
Last night I stayed up past the time I couldn't get bed to read.
Sneak reading. How about over here? What'd you guys do?
I went to Boy Scouts and I did FLL.
Okay. Yep. All right. So who can list what you did last night? Who thinks they can tell us what everybody did last night? What do you think? Anybody want to give it a shot?
Say it again.
Say what everybody did last night. Who thinks they can get most of them?
Oh.
Want to give it a shot?
She read after Snow and the Boy Scouts and then watched the siblings eat dinner and read a book. She solved the mystery in 1940.
Okay. Anybody else want to try?
Let's see. Megan went swimming and read a book after her parents went to bed.
After she was
Or
supposed to go to bed.
she was supposed to go to bed.
Either way, sneaky
Yeah.
reading.
Sneak reading. Jenna did intensive soccer training. Kayla ate and read a book. Sabrina stayed home. Wherever. Or not. Wait. Who? Lexus. Not Sabrina. I thought she was back then. Carter played Ellie Nori or whatever. Yeah. Evan watched his sister or siblings. Yeah.
Did he miss anybody?
Told you. Yeah.
Oh, so even though he did a great job, he still got some wrong, right? So not quite an A. Alright, so what we have up here, way up here, is a list of verbs. And over here on the left, if you look, you see things like recall, recognize, name, memorize, list, match. Isn't that what we just did?
Yeah.
That's what you did in 2nd and 3rd grade with spelling and multiplication too, right? Well, then as we move this way, we move toward what they call higher thinking skills. You could also look at it as ones kind of on this side, moving up into 2s and 3s over to 4s. And you'll recognize a lot of those verbs right there, right? Okay, so who can move us up the verb scale to like a 2 or a 3 by summarizing or generally stating what the class did last night? Listing didn't work, so who can generally say what the class did last night? In a sentence or two. Be brave.
What the class did?
Yeah, like what people in the class did last night. Okay, students did extracurricular activities. Anybody else have a way they want to say it? Is that a hand up? There's no wrong answer.
People were helping other people, like Crystal helped her siblings with her homework, and then Evan helped his parents by watching his siblings.
Yeah, so you could say like students were helpful to their families last night, and then you could even give a couple examples, right? That gets us up to a 3, doesn't it? Because that's like citing evidence, right?
People in the class did several activities like reading, swimming, watching soccer, and a lot of other.
Yeah. So he said people in the class did several activities such as swimming, reading, and he gave some examples, right? That also takes us to a 2 or 3 where we've taken the information, we've kind of put it all together into a summary and used some examples, right? So then the question is, how do we get that to a 4? So what if I said, students in the class seemed to have a lot of free time last night. Some of them were playing games, some of them were watching TV, and I think that the teachers at Central need to give more homework because the kids have too much time on their hands.
No. Because I feel like
Huh.
I really
All right.
my homework is reading.
You don't like that. So what if I said it this way? Students last night from Mrs. Sturm's class did a lot of productive and helpful things. They practiced musical instruments, they practiced for sports teams, and some of them helped their families. Teachers should be really careful about not giving too much homework because kids have a lot of important activities after school.
Yes.
Okay?
Swim is important.
So that got me to a 4 because I used information from the text, right? And I said something that matters. What happened when I said they should give you more homework?
No.
Yeah, your whole body changed. You kind of sat up a little straighter and your eyebrows started to crinkle and you had something to say about it, right?
Yeah.
Same when I said that you shouldn't have so much homework. So I took something from the text being our conversation, right? I put it with something from real life, which is homework, and I put it together and all of a sudden it mattered to you, right? And I made a judgment about yes, you should have more homework or no, you shouldn't, and I defended it with my reasons, right? Okay, let's practice from a book. Let's say we read a book or a little story about a girl named Rosa, and in the book, Rosa's friend was getting picked on. And let's say on that assessment that Mrs. Stearns gives you, that it said, tell how you know that Rosa's a good friend in the story. And let's say my answer was, I know that Rosa's a good friend because in the story, Rosa's friend was getting picked on over and over again. Rosa stuck up for her friend, and good friends stick up for one another. Show me on your hands what you think. 1, 2, 3, or 4. What did I get? What's my score? Mrs. Sturms, you can rate me too. Some 4s. Let's see. A 3. Some 4s, a 3. Yeah, I would probably get a 2 or 3 because really all I did is explain why I thought Rosa was a good friend because she stuck up. Watch this. What if I said, well, let me ask you this. What happens to kids who get picked on over and over and over again? They're getting bullied. And what happens to people who get bullied? How do they feel?
Sad.
Sad. What happens next?
Their confidence drops.
Their confidence drops. What else?
They don't want to go to school anymore.
They don't want to go to school anymore. Anything else? They don't try the hardest? Do they get depressed? Yeah, what happens to people who are depressed sometimes? Sometimes they commit suicide. That's kind of a big thing to throw out in 6th grade, isn't it? But what if I said something like, in the story, Rose's friend was getting picked on over and over and over again. I know that kids who get bullied sometimes get depressed and even think about suicide. By sticking up for her friend, Rosa just might have saved her friend's life. What do you think? What'd I get? Undoubtedly a 4, right? When I get a 4, there's no question that it's a 4 because it's interesting. Was that interesting? You were kind of hanging on to see what I was going to say next, right? Because it was important. Things like bullying and depression and suicide, they matter in life, don't they? I took something from the text and I put it with what I know about real life. You guys are in 6th grade. You've seen some real life by now, haven't you? And I put it together for what matters. And that gets me up to a 4. So here's the thing. Is your test going to say, from Mrs. Stearns, is your performance task going to say, tell me what you know from the text and tell me what you know from real life and make it matter? Is it going to say that? No, you're going to have to remember this. So I want you to do it with me. Ready? This is what I know from the text.
This is what I know from the text.
This is what I know from real life.
This is what I know from real life.
And put it together to make it matter.
Put it together to make it matter.
Yeah, or the so what. So they're going to try to trick you, maybe. There's going to be some other words up there like judge and justify and evaluate, defend. Just know all those words mean the same thing, right? So let's talk about defend. Who in real life defends? Because when you get up here, these are real life verbs that you do in real jobs. So in real life, who defends?
Navy.
The Navy. How's the Navy defend?
By protecting our country.
Yeah, what do they do to protect us?
By trying to stop wars, all that stuff.
Okay, trying to stop and prevent wars. You have some thoughts to add to it?
I have a different person.
Okay, let's finish the Navy and I'll come back to you. Anybody had something else about the Navy or the military they wanted to
Yeah,
add?
mine's kind of related to his
Okay.
Secret Service, the
Okay.
president and his family.
Yeah, so how do they do those things? When you're in charge of protecting someone or groups of people, what do you do? You guard them? How? How do I guard them?
You said like watch posts area.
You set some watch post areas, right? The CIA has their places. The Navy on our borders and in different places around the world have watch posts. And then what do they do when they see something? You know, watch post means I'm looking out for something. What happens next?
They pretty much alert other areas around that.
They alert other areas and then they respond, right? Okay, who else defends? You had another idea.
A lawyer.
A lawyer, and how's a lawyer make a defense?
He defends his clients, like trying to get them so that they wouldn't go to jail.
Yeah, and so if he gets accused of stealing Mrs. Sturm's pencils, can I just say, this guy sat in the front row, he participated, he's a nice-looking young man, he definitely did not steal Mrs. Sturm's pencils.
No.
You're not buying it? But he's a nice kid.
So?
So, she said so, remember? So what? Make it matter?
That's what you see on the outside, but what about on the inside?
Okay, so what if I said, Mrs. Sturm's pencils went missing at 9:30, and at 9:30 I was standing right next to him, and he did not take them. Does that work?
That would be
Yeah, I have to present some real evidence. Who else defends? In real life. This is a fun one.
Parents.
Yeah, your parents might defend you and stick up to you. Did you have another idea?
Yeah, the police.
Oh, the police? Yep, it kind of works like the military. Who else in real life?
your friends.
Yeah?
Teachers.
Any athletes in here?
Oh, like football players.
Football players might defend. Basketball players defend. And if I'm in sports, can I just stand in front of the goal and say, nope, you're not coming in here? Does that work?
No.
No.
No, probably not. What do I have to do?
You have to move around.
I have to move around according to what the other team is doing, right? In football, I might have to get there and block. In basketball, I might have to have my hands and my feet ready to go where the ball goes, right? And so I have to move according to what the other person is doing. The same is true when you're writing something to try to get to a 4. Remember, we have to move with the story, or we have to move with the information. So as we have our evidence from the story, our defense has to match, right? So these skills over here, the reason we need to get to these, that's what you do in real life. There's not a lot of jobs, maybe you could help me think of one, where my job is going to be to take a test over things I've memorized. Does anybody's parents have a job where they just sit around taking tests for things they've memorized? No, not a lot of employment out there for memorizing, right? Which is too bad. Some people are really good at memorizing, but it's not going to get you there. But does anybody have a job where they have to defend or evaluate or explain or make decisions? Yeah, that's real life. And so now it's important that you memorize things. Did you need to memorize how to spell words? Yeah, did you need to memorize your multiplication facts so you're ready for advanced math? Yeah, but you also have to learn how to do these other things so that you're ready for the real world. Are there times now in middle school that you're going to have to make some important decisions? Yeah, so getting to use those skills will help. Also, is it a little more fun than memorizing? Getting to think about whether or not you should have homework? Getting to think about what makes a good friend? It's a little more interesting, isn't it? Than if I came in here and gave you a list of stuff and asked you to sit and study it. Do you have questions about how to get to a 4? All right, so let's do it one more time. This is what I know from the text.
This is what I know from the text.
This is what I know from real life.
This is what I know from real life.
I put them together for the so what, or to make it matter, right? Yeah, you don't have to say that whole thing. So, and you're not going to be tricked, right? Whether they say assess or develop or evaluate or judge, you're going to know that this is really what they're looking for, right? Okay, thank you. It was very fun talking to you guys. And you guys were very quiet and respectful, but yet participated. Have a great day, okay? All right, thanks.